Once again, how you doing? What I want to do with you today is share a couple of the books in my library that have influenced me the most when it comes to my own trading and investing, and that really, influenced me and taught me about how to trade the stock market. The thing is, my background is I was in college when I first started investing and educating myself. I've got a master's in history and was in a doctoral program for 2 years. I took some economics and business classes. But when it comes down to it, you really have to educate yourself, because there's nothing in college that I ever took and can think of that really can prepare you to be a good trader. I mean, you can take stuff about accounting and educate yourself through school on how to read a company balance sheet, how to value a company from a fundamental basis. But the thing is, when you get down to it, when it comes to the stock market, stock prices move more so on psychology and investor expectations and the general trend in the market, more so than they do fundamental analysis and simple valuation. I mean, that's helpful to know. I do sometimes incorporate it in my analysis, but when push comes to shove, it all has to do with the trend of the market, the trend that the sector stock is in, and then the trend of the stock itself. And that comes from technical analysis. That's how you detect these things and know when you should make good entry and exit points. So anyway, let's get down to these books. This first book I want to tell you about is Security Analysis by Benjamin Graham and David Dodd, written first in 1934, but it's had multiple editions. If you don't know, Graham was a professor, I believe, at Columbia University, and he taught Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett's investment philosophy really derives from this book, and he's basically applied the same philosophy throughout his entire lifetime. Again, you just heard me say that I don't really use fundamental analysis to make my entry and exit points, but it's good to know. I use it to think about the market and so forth. So this is a good book to start with. Now this is a core book right here, Technical Analysis of Stock Trends by Edwards and McGee, written about the same time period, I believe 1940 something. 1948. It's had multiple editions. A recent edition, this book's 10 years old. I doubt Edwards and McGee wrote this edition of it. But anyway, what this book does is, all the examples are from the 30s, but it doesn't matter because the principles still apply today. But it talks about basic chart patterns, head and shoulders patterns, triangle patterns, the concepts of support and resistance. So you go through this book, you get a grasp of these basic chart patterns that seem to appear in stocks over and over again, and you'll understand the philosophy of technical analysis. You'll start to look at the market and get a feel for different trends, and feel more comfortable with things, and be going from there. Now this is one of my favorite books, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, written by Edwin Lefevre, Lefevre. It's a novel style book, but it's about the life of Jesse Livermore, who was probably the most successful trader of the 20th century. He traded from before World War I to about 1940 when he passed away. But he made and lost millions of dollars several times, and you got to remember, millions of dollars back in the 1920s is equivalent of hundreds of millions a day, if not billions. So he was one of the richest people of the past 100 years. His wealth rivaled that of Bill Gates today, and it's a really fascinating story. What the book does, it lets you get in on the shoulders of a professional trader, super trader, and see what he does in the market, how he feels about his trades, the emotional impact of trading, investing on him, where he's made his big mistakes. You learn from his mistakes. You learn from what he says of the mistakes of others, and key lessons that he thinks it takes to be successful in the stock market. This book is one of the classic books, along with this Edwards and McGee book, when it comes to investing and trading. And if you want to understand, lots of hedge funds and Wall Street firms make their beginning traders read this book. And once you read it, you understand why. I've got several books in my library that are about the psychology of trading. And this is one of the most basic ones It's called The Disciplined Trader. It's written by a gentleman named Mark Douglas, subtitled Developing Winning Attitudes. Now, the thing about the stock market is there's different levels that people are at. The beginning trader wants to move and become successful, get in the 5%, a category I talked to you about the other day. Now, to do that, the psychological stumbling block that they usually encounter is believing in themselves when you get down to it. And what I mean by that is having faith in their trading method. Because what happens is people enter trades and they inevitably are going to experience losing trades, and how they deal with their losses and mistakes has everything to deal with whether they're going to become a good trader or not. Because the good traders are people that, yeah, they make mistakes in the market, or a stock goes the wrong way, they take a small loss, but they never let these big losses turn into things that are giant losses that ruin them. Instead, they learn from them. And the people who don't learn from their mistakes are the people who never become successful traders, and that's unfortunately the majority of people. They simply don't learn from their mistakes, and they keep repeating them over and over again instead of looking at them and analyzing them and saying, hey, what did I just do here? What does this teach me? What does this show me about maybe not even necessarily what I'm doing or the person experiencing the loss is doing, but what the market's doing. Maybe this means the method that's been working is no longer working because the market trend's changing and so forth. So they adapt to the market based on the feedback they get from the losing trades. And when you get to a higher level of trading, then there's different psychological aspects that come into play. You need to be patient. You need to not be super aggressive and real arrogant when it comes to the market and expect to make big returns over and over again, but be able to set back when it's appropriate to. And this book here is really good for teaching you all the things I just talked about and more. And it's real valuable not to read this right as a beginner, but once you're in the market for 6 months or a year, because reading this book, it'll force you to think about your own experience in the market and analyze it and look at it from a different angle and really kickstart your learning process. And again, on the website, I try to kickstart things by taking everything I know about the market and distilling it into 10 lessons, ebooks and videos that kind of summarize the knowledge in these books and other books and my own experiences, and break it down into a shorter form where you can really, rapidly go through some of this material. But that's still, it's helpful to do that. I recommend you do that. I've certainly put it together, so I believe in it. But it's good to go through that in order to see the principles that work in my own writings and so forth. But that's still not a replacement for, experience and reading books. It's a way, to get started and get on the website and get moving. But this book here, you should buy this and read it if you do nothing else. Stan Weinstein's Secrets for Profiting Bull Bear Markets. This is my favorite investment book, the one I recommend to everybody. It's one of the most easily written books. There's books that have similar concepts, even similar writing styles that are a little bit older. One, it's almost like this is almost really derived from it and or inspired by it, written in the late 70s, late 60s, early 70s. But this is the best book I know of. You can tell by if you can see it, the guy's hairdo that it's from the 1980s, but that doesn't mean the chart examples, even though they're 15 years old or whatever, the principles still apply today. And what he does is breaks down the market so it's easy to understand the trend of the stocks, the trend of the markets. I talk about his concepts a lot in the Stock Market Mastery course, but he also gives you good methodology for making entry and exit points that's really easy to understand and really grasp. So really recommend this book to you. If you do nothing else, buy this book. Again, it's Stan Weinstein's Secrets for Profiting in Bull Bear Markets. And as we go forward, I'll discuss some of the concepts in different books I've read in more detail. But I just want to give you a good overview of the books that I think are the most important, the ones that have influenced me the most, so you can maybe buy some of them or at least know where I'm coming from if you're already an experienced investor yourself. So anyway, I'll be writing to you about the trends in the market, follow that, what I think about it, and be putting out some more videos where I'll be talking to you directly and give me some feedback, and we'll be in touch.